Thank you very much, Taylor. I'm going to keep this really, really quick because I'm guessing everybody wants to drink and not watch presentations. So a few key facts for our company. Very importantly, very tightly held. I'm actually now the largest shareholder, almost 7 million shares. Our executive chairman, Luke Norman, owns 2.5 million shares, and then you can see the other large holders. The reality is that as we sit today, it's about 80 million shares outstanding. Most of the warrants and options are struck way higher, like a $1.11, $1.20, $1.30. So hopefully in a bid gold world, they may actually come in the money, but when I'm talking about fully diluted, it would be 100 million or 110 million, but really ostensibly it's 80 million with most of the stock owned by management and insiders. I'm going to quickly go kind of to the picture that tells 1,000 words, just because I find that questions are usually the best way to elaborate on a story. We tried to do things a little bit differently in Red Lake. As everyone knows, Red Lake is a prolific gold jurisdiction. It also happens to be bestowed with many other really valuable elements and minerals. But one of the challenges outside of Goldcorp, and now obviously Evolution owns the Red Lake mine, was that it was basically cut up into millions of pieces, and there just wasn't really a major play at work or a belt that was owned by one company, something that would really turn a major on. And so we had a flagship asset called Newman Todd. Newman Todd in 2013 had a $200 million valuation. As we stand today, we have about a $16 million valuation. And just so you know, Newman Todd's about 2 million ounces of non-43-101 compliant gold at about 1.5 grams. That's going to grow substantially given our most recent intercepts, which were 4 of 40, 9 of 20. We collared into 90 meters of a gram per ton, and effectively for the first time ever hit very, very high grade gold in the hanging wall. And the previous driller, ironically, was Bob Singh of Dixie fame. And they drilled 30 meters of 12. It basically is a large stromatolite body that carries about 1.5 grams in it, that is also bestowed with those world famous Red Lake veins that really, really juices up the average grade. But what I did when I came in along with our team was look, you can't hang your hat on one asset in Red Lake, even though Newman Todd's a good one. And as we all know, the junior market's been absolutely brutal. Even with gold running $100, really the juniors haven't seen any bid whatsoever. But we embarked on a process of trying to acquire as much land as possible on two of the dominant structures that sit in Red Lake. So if you follow from Evolution Starr, the dotted line all across our property, we have about 100 kilometers of strike on the Red Lake mine structure, or what's called the Red Lake structure. And then importantly, we also have about 100 kilometers of strike on the LP fault structure, which is obviously what hosted the Dixie discovery. And as you know, Kinross just paid about I think it was 1.8 billion for it. They have 7 kilometers of strike. We have 100 kilometers of strike. And obviously for a $20 million market cap company, that's a lot to chew on, especially when, the market's been horrible. We've all taken salary cuts at our company. We have less than 100 grand per month in terms of burn across everything we do. And the reason we did that was, look, this company is going to be about a discovery. It's not going to be about, making our chief geo rich or me rich or anything. All of the money is going to go in the ground. And if we're lucky, we're going to have another discovery on those two structures that we control the majority of. I should also point out who our neighbors are. Barrick has basically JV'd that entire piece of property from Kenorland. They tried to JV Dixie and Red Lake Gold. The CEO of both of those companies, who's a lawyer, broke the JV arrangement, and Barrick is now suing them both for $110 million. Their combined market caps are 10 million. Why I bring that up is the majors are really aggressive in this jurisdiction, and what investors are missing is the opportunity, in my opinion, of a lifetime, where you actually have one of the most geologically bestowed jurisdictions in the world, with gold obviously being a predominant asset class, but also lithium, a lot of VMS type structures, base metals. but it's completely being ignored by the retail and the institutional investor, while the majors are effectively picking up ground everywhere all around us. So what are the big data points that I want to leave you with? Confederation Belt, you're looking up at a close-up of our Confederation assets with the 100 kilometers of strike on the Dixie Fault, the 100 kilometers of strike on the Red Lake Fault. All of those yellow dots are core that we're sending to the assay lab right now. All of the red dots are core that's in the assay labs, and all of the black dots are historical holes. I had a call with a shareholder today, and the shareholder was like, well, what are you drilling? What are you doing? And I said, well, we're drilling nothing. And he's like, well, why aren't you drilling anything? And I said, you know, it's funny how sometimes just the story doesn't match up with what you know and what your investors know. We've found about 75,000 meters of historical core on our Confederation property. And that 75,000 meters is being drilled by the likes of Noranda, Falcon Bridge, you know, majors throughout the years, juniors throughout the years as well. They were all looking for VMS. We're looking for gold. So all of that core, and I'll be honest, it's half of it is rotten, half of it's viable. But we're effectively embarking on a 37,500 meter drill program without having to drill 1 meter. And we're running all that core, splitting it ourselves through the assay lab for $30 a meter. And my thesis is, look, if you're not going to get paid for successful drill holes, at least you might get paid for a discovery. And what better way to make a discovery than running through 37,500 meters of core that's already been drilled, never been split, never been assayed for gold. And this is pictures of what we're looking at. And the bottom left is the hinge zone at Dixie, and the top right is almost a mirror image of the core that we're finding on our property. Here's the LP fault, and you know, bottom left, top right is core that we're finding. Here's Tim Toomey, who's like Mr. Red Lake. He actually, that's core that he took a picture of on the left in the Red Lake mine. And on the right, that's core that we found on our property. And so, you know, we're seeing all the necessary characteristics. The assay labs have vastly improved their turnaround. It's kind of around 2 months now. But the moral of the story is, look, we've got a 37,500 meter drill program that we've embarked on that no one's paying attention to, that could at any time give us, well, at a minimum, it's going to give us a ton of information for when we realistically go out and drill it ourselves. But if we're a bit lucky, it's going to give us a discovery. And that's why I, you know, have doubled down on my position and will continue to buy this stock. The last thing I'm going to show you is our NT property, Newman Todd. In the foreground is our two most recent drill holes we just press released. You can see we collared into the 90 meters of 1. You can see the almost 9 meters of 20. But it was in an area that's never been drilled before. Like I mentioned, it's in the hanging wall. There's been no drilling in the hanging wall. The highest grade intercept ever was hit in the hanging wall. Basically 0.3 meters of almost 550 grams per ton down at about 600 meters. I have no doubt this is going to be an open pit opportunity. That entire Newman Todd structure carries an average grade of about 1.5 grams, and really what it's going to come down to is how many more of these really juicy hits can we get in the hanging wall, and can we follow it through both Newman Todd and then of course away from Newman Todd. And if you look at a plan view of it, you can see that that sort of gray area is where we just had those two major intercepts. There's more to come. Obviously we have to get our stock price higher. We have to be able to finance. I'm really not a fan of financing down at these levels, especially given where Newman Todd was valued in 2013, $200 million. And with that, I'll leave it open to questions.